Bitcoin is pushing up against the 100K mark. Large alts have been absolutely blasting off and meme coins are down. Well, today's a good day because we have Paul from Definity joining us. So let's take a look at the market today and see what we can see in the price action. We're also going to look at the markets affecting crypto because clearly there's some money flowing into crypto, both Bitcoin and large cap alts. Let's look at where that may be coming from. Also, let's look at the market. It's playing out very interesting. Often money early on in the bull run goes into Bitcoin and large alts, just like we're seeing. Meme coins also run, but perhaps they've had their run and maybe they'll have another run later. We'll take a look at price action and see what we can see on that. Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel in our family. Now, if you, like me, came into crypto because you realize there is potential here for life-changing gains over a greater period if you're doing things right, and you're looking for a discussion on becoming a solid and shakable, savage crypto investor, like a Navy SEAL of crypto investing, you're in exactly the right place and with the right family, the Rainmaker family. The reason I created this channel is because I was once new to the crypto space 7 years ago. And back then I was looking for a crypto channel and a group that understood crypto as an investment class and discussed the most important things like the investment cycle of crypto, the specific projects that had merit, a good team, and the pros and cons of those projects, the risks, the guess the upside if it came together well. And I didn't really find that, so we created it. I say we because it's not just me anymore. It's a family of Rainmakers, and you'll see many of them here in the chat. You will see some of them in our free Telegram group. The link to that is below. And you will definitely find our Rainmakers in the private Patreon group that gives you access to the private Discord. And that private Discord is where all the really important discussions go on. So I hope you join in. There are other benefits there too, but you'll have to join it to find out. Do note, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a crypto investor myself. Paul invests in many different markets, and none of this to be taken as financial advice. So if you haven't already, make it rain on that like button and strap in for the show. Help me welcome Paul from Definity.
Hi, guys. Yeah, it's great to be here on a Tuesday, just ahead of the long Thanksgiving holiday that guys in America will be settling down to. So thank you for accommodating the change in day. It should be quite a good one because there's a lot to talk about and a lot of exciting things in prospect.
Yeah, there's tons of stuff going on. It's fun watching some of these really, really blow off, and that's creating some awareness in crypto. Not a huge amount, but some of the non-crypto people are starting to wake up. And I love this point in the bull market. I don't love it as much as what comes next or what comes a little bit further down the road. That's the most fun part of the crypto market when you're well prepared for it. And then you see all these positions, these smart positions you've taken go absolutely bananas. Yeah, that part's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I've not heard much outside of the people who are normally in the crypto space talking about the potential for crypto. It seems to be that it's sort of on the sidelines still. So just from my own anecdotal evidence, and that, you got to put that together with lots of other people to work out when we're getting nearer a sentiment high. But last week, somebody asked a very interesting question about Bitcoin dominance, which is now going to be a chart that we're going to look at more often, I would have thought. And I've noticed something really interesting that I want to share with you with regard to what we were talking about in terms of finding a top and potential markers for that. So I noticed a very interesting move that I think I'm going to be following quite closely from now on. That again, I'm going to share with you once we go through the kind of looking at all the markets to see whether risk on is still risk on or not.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Let's
Okay.
go right into the action and share with us kind of what some of the things you're watching, some of the markets you're watching.
Yeah, sure. So we'll come back to the Bitcoin dominance chart. I literally just updated this, so this is now part of the list, so we can track it each week. But as you guys know, the first thing we look at is what are the equity markets doing, and is there any evidence of a top or reversal? And as you can see, the trend is still up, and it looks like more things are breaking out, more things are moving higher. This first one was the Dow Jones. Next one is Dow Jones Transportation. This is about to pop off. I would expect this to break 18,000 very soon, and for it to be trading towards 20,000 in the next few weeks. Nasdaq, again, upward trend. Nothing to really change there in terms of market still going up, still risk on. Now, what's going on here? Russell 2000. Sorry, I looked at that. I thought that said 1,000, but it's not off for 1,000. It's only off 12. And again, we're seeing this cup type. This is called a cup and handle pattern, and all it's saying is the market's come back. It's touched the previous high, and now it's very likely to explode higher. And Bitcoin did a similar thing, but more in a convoluted range. But I've been very bullish on this, and every single person I've spoken to has been bearish, which is quite interesting, which makes me even more bullish on it. So my argument being that AI is really good for small companies. It was good for big companies, now good for small companies. And this whole risk on process, in the same way as looking at Bitcoin and ETH and Solana and all the big names, will trickle down to the smaller projects. And it's a rising tide will rise all boats, possibly not all at the same rate, but we are in a risk on environment, which is great for crypto. So there's more positivity to come. And the more the media doesn't see it, and the less we hear from, people shouting it from the rooftops, the better, because the more likely it is to continue. So this is a really good sign, even though it's indirectly connected. Equities are doing well. We've got a bit of a correction going on in the Hong Kong and the Chinese market, a quite aggressive one actually, but I still don't think this changes the overall trends. They are pulling back, but I would use the same argument that we used at the start of the year. Back here, there was an economist article saying how China was going into deflation and the stock market was a massive sell. And it's literally the bottom of that move, and it has gone up ever since. So even though it was much higher, it has corrected. The market is still the opinion of this, the sentiment is still very negative. So you might think, well, I don't care about China. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm interested in crypto. But the point is, the more money that is with the biggest economies, i.e. the US and China, the more money that can flow into crypto. So this should turn around, and I expect it to, and I expect more stimulus if it doesn't from the Chinese government. They don't want to see American stocks racing away and comparatively China going backwards, and nobody in charge of an economy wants to see it go backwards anyway. So it's just simple kind of psychology that they should do something, and that extra money should flow into crypto further down the lines. So that's all looking really good. Let's see, what else have we got? We got what's going on in the US dollar, which is a key one. So the US dollar, as you know, has been much stronger than I expected, and from this breakdown point is literally, it's equivalent of what we call stepping on a landmine. You go short and then the market goes right up in your face. Had to sort of exit out and then sit on the sidelines and wait for this to peter out. Now, we talked about how many weeks it was going up, and I think it was 11 or something last week, but seems to be the first week where it's meeting some resistance and starting to come off. That's not enough to say the trend is over, because the trend rate is still not broken, even though it's come off. But it is in a very interesting zone, which is where this prior resistance is. Will it get to 108? I think it peaked at 108. I think it touched it and just came off. Let me just check that. High was 108.07. Now, to me, that is a really interesting level, just because it was important on the way up and now on the way down. So the fact that it hit there and then came straight off almost suggests that we've had a blow off top, but I will reserve judgment on that. But when this starts to go down, we'll see even more acceleration into crypto and the equity market. So there's a lot that's happening. Dollar's clearly up because people are worried about World War III and what's going on in Russia. That will all peter out, and cooler heads will prevail. And once that happens, I think this will come back down again. But for the moment, it is an outlier. It is something I didn't expect. I definitely got it wrong when I said it would break down. But we're now waiting for this to turn in the right direction. So when it comes to Bitcoin, it very nearly hit 100,000. It didn't quite. I don't think it quite hit it. I didn't see it trade there. It traded at 99,800. So the reason why I think that is really interesting is because there will be a lot of bets, a lot of options, and if it hits 100,000, then an option will pay out. And so you sometimes see the market protecting certain levels and to cover different positions. I mean, that's what used to happen in the foreign exchange markets. I don't know whether that still happens, but it didn't surprise me. If you remember last week, I said it hit 100,000 and then come off. It's near as damn it hit 100,000 and come straight off. So that doesn't mean that this is bearish at all. It just means that the market needs to cool down a little bit, go sideways for a bit, possibly, and then continue its upward trend. But definitely still bullish. We'll have to see how much it retraces from here, but the trend is still up as far as I'm concerned. And it can. What's nice about this, it can deal with a big retracement and still be bullish. Where we might see some more interest is if this goes down because people are now shifting into altcoins, which is exactly what we said would happen. They're going to look at this and go, right, am I going to buy Bitcoin at 100,000 or near as damn it? Or am I going to buy another altcoin that has got a lot of potential to catch up? So this is really bullish for the altcoins, I think, especially the ones that have shown outperformance, but it could be, pretty much bullish across the board. So taking out the meme coins that we don't really, care that much about, I think it's a really interesting situation. So we will have less volume because obviously the US market is the biggest in the world, and Thanksgiving, people are going to link up the holidays. They may be on holiday now, or they may take their holiday next week. So then this week and next week, I'd expect possibly a reduction in volatility and volume. And so we can not discount what happens, but perhaps just put it down to maybe a thinner market if it's a strange move, or lower volumes because it's a strange move, basically the same thing. But other than that, it's kind of steady as she goes.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this plays out. Bitcoin hitting the 100,000 mark, it hasn't broken it. And when it does, I think a lot of the population really starts waking up to Bitcoin, and they kind of are. The news isn't really talking about it a lot, but when it breaks through 100,000, they'll be forced to talk about it more. And normally they would be talking about it more. They're just keeping it out of the news. Maybe they're not happy that the markets have rebounded now that Trump is elected. Most reporters are very much on the left spectrum and anti-Trump. Like, what do they say? Like 92% of the coverage on Trump is negative. So they're not talking about good things like Bitcoin going up, stock markets going up. And so awareness across the general population is still lower on Bitcoin doing what it's been doing, but it's gotten some traction with those who pay attention. And a lot of institutions are buying Bitcoin, and it could be that institutions are leaning on the press not to be covering Bitcoin's price because they want to continue to accumulate. So most of the population isn't aware really what's going on with Bitcoin. They may have heard, but they're not really paying close attention yet. That's fine. That will come, and they, the press can't stop that. And I don't know that. I think just temporarily they're not covering it much. When it breaks 100,000, it'll be a big deal. Also, so the way I've seen that markets played out 2017, 2021, and here we are now 4 years later in 2025, is when the bull market really kicks off. Usually Bitcoin runs first with a few altcoins and sometimes meme coins. So we saw meme coins making some massive gains like 2 weeks ago, like massive gains. And it seems like that momentum has tapered off, and probably it has for a while until meme coins come into the narrative again. If they do, my guess is they will. I just don't put a lot of money myself in meme coins because the predictability, really, there's no fundamental analysis to do. There's no company to look at and see how strong is this company. You're really just playing sentiment analysis, 100%. which I lean towards the fundamental analysis, better indicator of what can do well versus what can't. And so it's just a higher percentage bet rather than meme coins, which you're playing musical chairs and hoping you're not getting left without a chair. Meme coins, there's not inherent fundamental value. So meme coins coming down a little bit. That doesn't mean they won't have a run sometime later this cycle, but the momentum is coming off and going towards substance. And so you're seeing a lot of high cap altcoins with substance running, particularly XRP and everything related to the ISO coins. So Bitcoin pushed up last week, real close to 100, didn't quite break it. Some of that momentum is shifted into these high cap altcoins with substance like XRP. And we'll cover one or two today along those lines where some of the momentum has gone. Why don't we look at, you've got the Bitcoin chart. Let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance and get your thoughts. This isn't a chart we've looked at in quite a while.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever actually looked at it, to be honest. But just before we did do that, I just wanted to, what I was saying at the top of the show about there's a relationship that I'm going to be looking at, and it is we talked about, like, further down the pipe, we're going to be looking at what will end the trend, what will be the ending signal of this bull market. And one of the things I suggested was maybe it's MicroStrategy. Will people start selling MicroStrategy ahead of the Bitcoin collapse? Like, so are they smart enough to go, okay, this is too much, and therefore we're going to take our profits, and this is what we were waiting for. This was the big adoption point that we loaded the boat for, and so we're now like emptying the boat, as it were. Or will they be caught up in the mania and just keep adding more and more and more and more, and eventually their stock just turns over and it goes back down much harder? So that's for the future. We won't know that yet because we're not at that point. But what I thought was really interesting, if we look at the chart of MicroStrategy, which clearly exploded up. Now, this is on Thursday. This is a daily chart. So this is a very bearish signal. It's called a spike. And you've got the market opening here, trading up and coming all the way back down. So that's an indication of a change of trend, even if it's temporary. Usually on this, you get the market going sideways for a bit. It might go back up again, but potentially a top is in the offing now. Now, if we look at what happened in Bitcoin, I mean, when I say a top, I mean a temporary pullback. I don't necessarily mean that that's the end of the trend and it's now a bear market. But I'm more interested in what it means for Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin on the same Thursday was showing absolutely no negative indication of trend. It was straight up. This was a lovely breakout. This is a lovely little technical pattern, and it traded all the way up to 100,000. So if we look at Thursday, Thursday the 22nd, Bitcoin makes a new high. If we go back to MicroStrategy, Thursday the 22nd, actually that's Thursday the 21st. I don't know why it's saying that, but anyway, if you look at the same day, the market has made a new high and then it spiked off. So that could be an indication that this is leading what Bitcoin does. Now, it might even, if it's even by a day, that's brilliant, because you're effectively seeing the future, aren't you? So this is a relationship that I want to keep in mind. I was going to keep it in mind anyway, but this is a very significant move in MicroStrategy, and it's not something I would ignore. So I'm going to be watching this closely. Now, it could just end up with a sideways range, and then we get this breakout over 550 as Bitcoin goes up to 120, up to 200, whatever the high is, or whatever the next part of the trend is. It can't continue like at this rate. It needs a consolidation. It's good to have a consolidation. As far as retail goes and the wider adoption, it would be unlikely that people would buy it at 100,000. They hear 100,000, they're going to say that sounds expensive, and they're going to wait. So I think it would take much more for them to get in. There has to be some form of policy or some way to make it easier for them to buy before they'll jump in. I mean, that's new players, new retail players. corporate, I'm pretty sure that they've got their eyes on this, and they're looking. They're probably less sensitive to the price and more sensitive to a long-term strategy. So I thought that was interesting. I thought it's something that is worth looking at. Now, in terms of the Bitcoin dominance, so this would suggest as this goes up, Bitcoin dominates, and as this goes down, obviously, Bitcoin is less dominant than the altcoins. Now, very clearly, we got a breakout. You know how I like my breakout levels. Well, this 48% point was extremely clear, and the trend has been very smooth to the upside. So that does suggest that Bitcoin would outperform. But we're getting a bit of volatility in the short term here. And that, to me, coupled with the trend rate. Now, look at the trend rate here. It's down really fast. Look at the trend rate here. It's winding up and winding up and winding up. So it wouldn't surprise me if this has some form of correction, which is less a Bitcoin correction and more an altcoin rally to play catch up. So, this makes me feel pretty bullish on altcoins. In fact, I think it's quite an exciting time. We could see some really surprising moves. We've already seen the first signs of that. But if there is going to be, as one of the viewers has put, a very interesting point, there's a around the Christmas table or kitchen sink type conversation about crypto, they're more likely to jump into the altcoins where there seems to be more volatility, and a small sort of stake can go a very long way. So that might encourage some form of adoption in those parts of it. Maybe they'll have to on ramp with Bitcoin, and that's why we'll see a bit of buying there before they move it. But in any case, I think it's looking to me like it's hit a really big level here. This was a breakdown point. So I get the sense that we should be looking for a retracement, but that retracement isn't necessarily a bearish on Bitcoin, and we'll have to see how it pans out. It would be more an adoption of altcoins, and that was kind of what we were moving to anyway, or thinking of as a strategy over the last sort of month or so. But it's interesting to see if this gets reflected.
Yeah, I want to give some historical perspective. Now, I been in crypto now since 2017. So I've been watching this trend, and I want to take people all the way back to 2017. And what's interesting about crypto is that Bitcoin halving has set a 4-year cycle. There's some things that coincide with the 4-year cycle as well. It's a US presidential election year, which means monetary policy is usually stimulating the economy so that the administration that's trying to get reelected, or the outgoing administration that's trying to keep their party in power, can juice the economy. So interest rates usually come down, businesses can borrow money is more freely available, and it juices the economy. Coinciding with that, Bitcoin, the year after the Bitcoin halving. So the Bitcoin halving was in 2016. It takes about a year before the effect of that halving is really felt, and that there's a supply crunch. And so our first one was in 2013, but there weren't any altcoins in 2013 per se. There were a couple, and they were just forks off of Bitcoin. Now we have true altcoins that started to have some substance starting in 2017, but only a couple, like ETH. XRP was really talking about what they planned to do, but it wasn't functional at all yet. ETH started to be functional in 2017. And so you see in early 2017, Bitcoin losing some of its dominance to as altcoins really started to take off and their use case being seen. But then Bitcoin came back here because Bitcoin had its big run through the 4th of December, and Bitcoin went to almost 20,000. Then a lot of the momentum shifted into alts as Bitcoin retraced, and alts absolutely took off. For about the next month and a half, altcoins went absolutely crazy, which is why Bitcoin dominance fell so much. Then over the bear market, though, Bitcoin usually retraces in value about 85% from its all-time highs. Altcoins often retrace 95 to 99% of their value. So Bitcoin's dominance goes right back up. Then we see Bitcoin peaking in January 2021, and then a lot of without any much momentum at all going into alts. And then the momentum started to cascade into altcoins as altcoins went crazy. Bitcoin was still doing good during this time relatively. It's just altcoins absolutely took off, and Bitcoin dominance completely fell here. So we're seeing over the bear market that Bitcoin continue to pick up some dominance, but altcoins have a higher percentage of the market than they did. Notice here there were hardly any altcoins. Here there are some altcoins, but only a few with relative use cases and being used in 2021. And by now, a lot of these altcoin use cases are really starting to be put in place. I like to think of Bitcoin as cryptocurrency version 1.0. And it does hold a special place in value in that it's probably a better alternative, a store of value than gold. So it is like a digital version of gold. And maybe it will be a currency at some point. I don't know that the cost to transact it will be good. That way that really it's a really good store of value. But it unlocks some technology that would absolutely allow the internet to do things it couldn't do before in ways that probably the Bitcoin founder couldn't even foresee. And really, Ethereum and XRP really started to open up what could be done with blockchain and blockchain technology. As Ethereum introduced this idea of smart contracts. And this has allowed the internet to be able to do way better things than it could before. And some of these altcoins are really starting to see their use case. And that's why you'll never see dominance so high like this again. And even during its peak here, it went to 73% dominance, here all the way at 96% dominance. It probably won't be much higher than the 61% dominance ever again, because altcoins will really start to have its effect. And some of these things like XRP in the future is probably going to be really, really, really expensive. And some of these other ones that tokens that really have a use case will be expensive. So we are gearing up like this. Bitcoin climbing in dominance. We've seen it slip off like this as just a few coins have really been running. And they're mostly the ISO coins as well as Cardano that have been running. And we'll look at them a little bit. But at some point, this breaks to the downside as the altcoins really run like crazy. Some of what I want to share on that. We are live, so I am seeing your comments. Justin, we can take a look at XDC. MVE says, Rain, Paul, thanks guys for your knowledge. What about VAIOT and Demetra? I don't know those. I'll do a little bit of pre-research before I agree to share those at a point when Paul's talking. Just as you'll see the fam in the chat, Justin in here from our Rainmaker Discord. Also, if you caught the video on XRP recently with Sale, Sale's joining us here. So this is Sale from the video. Interesting. I think crypto will be a kitchen Thanksgiving topic. I think so. We definitely saw that play out in the 2017 bull run, that everything really took off right after Thanksgiving and then again after Christmas. First time commenting for Luke's flights. Got that conversation with Sale got him interested in XRP and XLM too. I'm glad. If you haven't joined the Discord already, and I know I don't talk about it tons, there's so much value there, and I don't like to overpromise and underdeliver, but there is a lot of value that you'll find there, and you become part of a community that thinks the same way I do. And because this message attracts people that think this way about money, about investing, and so you're really embedding yourself within a whole bunch of people that understand that crypto is an investment, and not FOMOing into things, not panic selling, but making smart investment decisions, kind of like Navy SEAL training. And many of these people have been with us for three and a half years now, and they're quite good. And so you see amazing people on there with amazing business experience like Sale as well, joining the Rainmaker family. So I hope you guys take that bet on yourself. It'll make a big difference over time for you. Let's see. Sailing said crypto was a big force in the election and people noticed. Yes, it was. Question, does everything go back to all-time highs and then some? Not everything goes back to all-time highs. Can't find a coin that has not done that. A lot of things wither away and die if they don't come to fruition. So say there were some coins in 2021 that never broke their 2017 highs or 2018 highs. There'll be some in 2025 that won't break their 2021 highs. It depends on if they're really growing and they're getting more adoption than they were the previous cycle, or if they kind of peaked and just kind of withered away during the bear market, lost all the momentum and just kind of coasting into oblivion. All right. Ethan says, Rain, bumpers trading volume skyrocketed by 100% in 2 days. What are your thoughts on that? Is this the signal we've been looking for? 1000x is back on the menu. Possibly. I'm glad people are starting to realize what Bitcoin or what bumper can be used for. And the more usage it gets, it'll get a network effect of people telling other people about it and really catch some momentum. So that's really good to hear. All right, let's jump on to some of the other things on the table to look at. Are you feeling ready to look at XLM?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's up and ready.
All right.
Yeah, you just got a comment up on the screen. If you could take that off. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, so XLM. So I remember having a conversation a long while ago with Manu from Definity, and I said, well, what do you think of XRP? And he said, I prefer Stellar. So, I think that was an interesting comment, and so I think this is a really interesting one to watch. So from a technical point of view, it's great to see that it's played catch up, and we were talking about how this was possible. It goes from these things go from nothing and then just explode, and so it's really important to be watching the market almost week to week, especially now. Like there was a time when things were very quiet, when Bitcoin was in that big range, and it was safe to say that not much was going to happen in the altcoin space, although there were some standouts. But now things are really moving. This is where you have to be watching every week, even during holidays and other times. So, overall, I'm bullish on this. I do think that this is approaching an important resistance point, drawing these highs together from going back to 2018. We got this high at 21, and it's exploded into this point here. Everyone who bought it around here is thinking, right, I've got a profit now. Let me just take it, and that's why we'll see some form of pullback or consolidation ahead of this previous high. But I see no reason why it won't take this out, given the momentum, given the power in this move. It's straight line, whereas this was more controlled in the way that it went up. It's more like this move here. But, Bitcoin is considerably higher in comparison to where this is now. So it does give further potential. There's more risk on macro headwind, or not headwinds, tailwinds pushing it along. And this is the time it should do it. Now, whether it'll do it now or whether it'll do it next year, I'm not sure. We will see whether it can consolidate around here and then take a run up. But I'm not surprised that it's seen a little pullback here. Whether that becomes a bigger pullback, we will wait and see. This isn't sustainable. I mean, you have seen it in some altcoins where things just go crazy, but this is looking like the first step of a bigger trend, if that makes sense. The first sort of breakout move that says, okay, we're in a trend now. The bear market, the range is over. We're into a new paradigm. Retracements are an opportunity potentially to buy, given the probabilities. Nothing's 100%. Who knows what can happen, but probabilities would suggest that retracements are an opportunity to buy. This is the sort of move you'd expect to see. Pull back where that comes, and then the breakout should continue. So, I see no reason why it won't take that high out as we go into next year. And I'd be quite surprised if it doesn't, to be honest. So clearly I'm bullish.
Yeah, I want to caution people about chasing green candles if that's what they're tempted to do. This particular decision point is a very risky decision point if they're going to try to buy for the short term. And so it's been going up so much, and I'm trying to find a version that has a little more history. You've got it as tracked by coin market cap. I'm not seeing that option.
Yeah, I had it on TradingView and it didn't have much history, so I switched over. So you probably got, oh, where's it
If
gone?
you go to,
You probably got this one, which is not, it's not got a lot of history on it.
yeah, if we look at this, it does show this trend like what Paul was showing, which I never want to buy just below that trend line, hoping that it breaks to the upside. Two reasons. Number one, yeah, we've been talking about XLM, XRP, and the other ISO coins, and we've had many private chats with Sale over the past year and a half when XLM was trading in this really, really cheap range, and so was XRP. And you had to have some future vision, and it was a long-term hold. You didn't know when it was going to pump, but it's realizing some of that pump. So now it's gone from 8 cents to 45 cents. This is not a great buy point. First of all, it's probably going to retrace when it hits that resistance on that trend line that Paul was showing you. And it will probably come down and you would get an even better buy there. Should it break to the upside and confirm that it's broken the upside, oftentimes when it breaks a trend like that, let me show you what it will do. Say the trend, see, we don't have this prior mark, but it was somewhere along the lines of this. And so I never want to buy right at this point, hoping that it breaks the upside, especially after such a steep climb like this. Most likely it's going to come back down and probably come back down significantly. So don't FOMO in at this price. This is a bad where the odds are stacked against you. You might tell yourself, well, I'm buying for the next 10 years anyway. Well, if that's true and you're buying for the next 10 years, you can, but you'll probably get another stab at this during the next bear market for cheaper. If you're going to buy for 10 years from now, chasing into something after it's just gone 4x on a large cap like this isn't something I do. Now, perhaps XLM really starts to realize its use case, and next bear market, it never comes back so cheap. Okay. Well, I do know that chances are, probabilities are, that it comes back down and gets cheaper again before it runs up and breaks through this. I do think this run, it massively breaks through this. But I don't think that is yet. We're still in November, December. I think November, December is going to be good for crypto. I can't say what January, February, March are going to be like. A lot of times there's a big pullback and kind of a lull. And there's a chance to kind of really scoop up the things that we're running in November and December as they get cheap again. Will it play out that way? I just think that's what the odds are. So I don't have a magic crystal ball. I can't see the future. I know I never make this buy on something that's running away like this. I either say, gosh, I missed it with this one and just let it go and roll it into something that's still nice and cheap that I like the fundamentals behind, or I wait till I have a more clear picture of, okay, that's a good entry zone. So for me, XLM, though I like stellar lumens, I'm not, two things. I'm not buying large cap alts. I have been tempted to buy the ISO coins because they have fundamentals that are really strong that I think at some point in the future, especially XRP, their market caps are so much higher than people can imagine. But when the timing of that really pops was less predictable to me than a lot of the things that I'm in. So I'm not in these yet, although many of our rainmakers have, and I purposely asked Sale to speak to our rainmaker family a lot on these because I felt for a lot of them there were some good decisions that they could make, and I want them to make a fully informed decision. So I know a lot of our rainmaker family loaded up on these ISO coins during the bear market, specifically those in the Discord that got all that valuable information. All right. XLM for me at this point is not a buy. It's just a wait. I want a more clear picture. Even if I am buying ISO coins, I'm not going to buy it at this point. All right. Let's take a look at Cardano, which has also been running away.
Yeah, sure thing. So similar situation, really. We were talking about this 90 cents level. It's hit 1 cent. Sorry, it's hit $1 or gone through the $1 area. I'm sure that's encouraged some profit taking. As you can see, the market's come off. The support level that I'd be watching at is 0.81 as a pullback, because as it breaks through these levels, you look at where it struggled before and prior resistance becomes support. But overall, this is looking good. I'm looking for a move up to $3 and potentially higher. This is a new paradigm, as I said before, a new trend. This is the sort of move that you'd expect to see when the dynamics have changed. We did see a rally here, and around that time, it did feel like something important was happening. It just was too early, and the longer the base goes on for, and this has all been a basing period, the bigger the base, the stronger the rally. So for me, this is really important that it's taken at 80 cents out, because it should really run to the next high, I would have thought. And um, it won't necessarily do it in a straight line, but technically it's looking good. Now, it has always been in some form of upward trend, um, but it's quite understandable that people had lost a bit of patience with it because it'd gone so dead for so long, so sideways for so long, and other things were moving. It's perfectly natural that people started looking at other things. But now we're getting the catch up. There will be people wanting to get in, and they'll be looking for a pullback. So we'll see how much it pulls back and how quickly they'll jump into that trend. But again, I'm looking at a longer term time frame. I'm not saying that today till tomorrow or next week. It's more, what's it going to do in 2025? And I think there's every chance we're now on the road to breaking the all-time high.
Yeah, I think so. Like buying into this price, it is confirming a trend towards the other direction. You did see a higher low here, and then a break to the upside. See, these W patterns usually plays out where it does go to the previous highs, and then it breaks to the upside. So I think Cardano has a lot farther to run than this. Now, I was getting a little bit concerned. Let me sharing the wrong screen. I was getting a little bit concerned about Cardano's future because I was concerned not enough new development is building on their ecosystem. However, some huge things have come forward that, like Charles Hoskinson is very involved with the Trump administration in helping them write the rules for cryptocurrency. That's going to bring a lot of security in developers building on Cardano from here. I think what Charles Hoskinson has done with the setup of Cardano is really good. They took the time to plan it out and architect it before building it. Cardano made me a ton of money from the bear market, which I started buying here at 11 cents way back in 2018. And it was frustrating buying it in the bear market because I was dollar cost averaging. If I zoom in here, this is what my buys look like during the bear market. First bought in 11 cents, and then it went down to 9 cents. I bought some more, went down to 7 cents. I bought some more, went down to 5 cents. I bought some more, went down to 3 cents, and I really loaded the boats. And it actually went all the way down to 1.7 cents. At that point, being human, I was like, man, I could have bought so much more if I just saved all that capital on the sidelines and bought at 1.7 cents. Though that's an unrealistic expectation because none of us can see the future. When you're buying cheap, sometimes it gets cheaper on you. This bear market has been no different. And, a lot of people are like, they like to make fun of me or poke fun at the way that I do things because they're like, oh, you're way down on your positions. Well, guess what? I was way down on my altcoin positions. Cardano is a very specific one I can easily show you. And yet it eventually turned around and went at this is actually where it went to 1.7 cents. It was an amazing price right here. So over this, I just continued to accumulate. And then it went the other way and went all the way to $3.40. So all that stuff I was buying at 3 cents went over 100x. Now, did I know where the bottom was? No. What was my probably average dollar cost price? Probably about 4.2 cents. So I made about 80x overall. Not bad at all, right? And the price of dollar cost averaging is you don't know where the bottom is. Now, does Cardano have a rosy future? Well, I felt like that future was a little bit in question with not enough development movement going there. But I think they've addressed that and fixed that with positioning themselves right in the smack of where the future is going. I think that was a big, smart move by Charles Hoskinson. I do like to buy cheap, and if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know when Cardano got down to 21 cents, I said it was way too cheap. It should have never been that cheap, and it was an amazing buy at that price. And it shouldn't be passed up. It was too juicy. And so we see that we were up over 5x from that price, even though Cardano is now a higher market cap project. At 21 cents, it was just too juicy to pass up. At this price, am I buying Cardano? No, I'm in riskier stuff. I've diversified out of a lot of my Cardano, not because I don't believe in it. I especially with the new updates, I think Cardano is going to be around for a long time. I think in this bull run, it probably goes to $10 or more, which is 10x from here. So there's still plenty of room to run. I'm just getting riskier stuff that I hope does 50 or 100 or 200x from here. And so at this point, Cardano is a sell for me, not because I don't believe in it. It just has to do with the 10x potential left. It's only 10x potential. I like things that have bigger potential. I think Cardano's going to do great for people that are putting millions of dollars into crypto. Cardano might be a really good bet for them, because if you put $10 million in and you can only make 10x from here if it goes really, really rosy, well, that's not bad when you're putting $10 million in. But if you're trying to turn $10,000 into something substantive for yourself, 10x over a 4 year, remember, we only have the run happens every 4 years. And this is the juicy leg where most the action of that 4 years happens. And so I'm trying to get more out of it than just a 10x. But, for those putting 10 million in, they're pretty happy with the 10x returns. For those trying to go from 10,000 to something substantive like 3 or 4 or 500,000, 10x isn't quite juicy enough often for them. All right. So for me, it's a sell only that I would diversify into other things. Because if you take a 5x gain and you roll that into something that then gets a 30x gain, that is 150x overall. Cool. If you are in our Rainmaker private Discord, Pete is completely on it with the research on what's going on in Cardano and keeps people well informed there. And Pete, you'll often see Pete in the comments. He spends hours and hours and hours of research keeping up on what's going on, not just with Cardano, but the entire Cardano ecosystem. Really helpful. Thanks, Pete, for all that you do. All right. Just checking up on, let's go on to the next one. OMI is a great one to talk about right now.
Yeah, so OMI, the big downward trend, when will it end? There are signs. We talked about the signs last week where the market hit a low and is now trending up. There's a very short-term trend to the upside. There's enough of a short-term base to suggest that this could be ready to go. You have to be cautious, obviously, because anything that is changing such a strong downward trend needs a decent amount of confirmation. But as I mentioned last week, one can buy it with a reasonable stop point. So that's not something I would subscribe to as the market is just trending down. But when it starts to show some signs of life, i.e., we've got higher lows for a number of days, and even if we go onto a weekly chart, although this is a big red candle, we've got a blue bar next to it, or a green bar, and then this area here, you see how it sticks out as being a big spike. That is the kind of cushion or the margin point with which I like to look for in order to take a position to hide a stop below it and say, well, I know where I'm parachuting out of this if it goes wrong. This is still the downward trend, though, just to kind of balance this slightly. And this, it will be like this until we get some form of strong acceleration. So I want to see a very big move and a close in the same way that we've seen some of the altcoins move when the other ones that are broken out, say XLM. The first move of that was a very sharp, strong move that suggested the dynamics were changing. That comes from a small base and then it builds on it. So for me, right here, right now, speculative buy with very small position that I would look to build on if it moves the right way. And really, it needs to get above this trend line and this sort of low watermark that I put here when it broke into the all-time low at that point. Everything below here, for me, requires a lot of caution. But that doesn't mean you can't nibble at it and try when the time's right, when the chart is showing some form of strength. But in the way I look at things, I don't mind paying more for something that's going in the right direction and accelerating as long as the chart looks right. And it has to look right from a visual point of view, which is also telling me that investors are pouring in and things have changed in terms of sentiment, rather than looking at the fundamentals, which I don't look at. So of course I don't know whether something's going to go to zero, so I can't buy something that's in a strong downward trend. That breaks the rules of technical analysis. So it's a lot more positive than it has been. I would still like to know whether these two moves here were real, and or whether they were just sort of, I think you might have said last week, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating that, but it really does change the look of the chart, and I'll explain why. Because if we put this line across here, you've got the makings of an inverse head and shoulders, which might mean it comes back down to around this area or possibly a bit higher, and then it breaks up. So we get left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and then a breakout. And this is the buy signal. But again, we need to see that kick off, that first really sharp move that indicates that the dynamics have changed. We haven't got that, but we have got it building on lows. So that's the first step to it. So I would say very small buy, a very cautious buy, and also putting it in terms of what's happened with a lot of other or what we expect from the altcoin space. It should be a very active and positive area in the next few months. So, if this doesn't move up in that environment, and not necessarily now, but in that environment going forward, that would be for me a bit of a red flag. So the better times are coming, and this should respond. So I'm going to be on the more positive side, given what we've seen here.
So for you, it's still a wait till
Well, I don't mind calling it a small buy, but okay, it is a preface of a small buy. And I think, if you wanted to call it a wait, I would understand that. But I don't mind nibbling at a level and putting a stop. So that's why it's switched really from, and that's why it's not like it's a qualified buy as opposed to just like, oh yeah, this is going, this looks really bullish, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the chart of Cardano. It looks a lot like the chart of OMI. So here's the chart of OMI right here. And here's the chart of what Cardano was doing. Really not all too different. And remember when I said Cardano at 21 cents, and it doesn't even quite reflect it on the chart. At 21 cents, I said it was so massively undervalued, and anything 25 cents below was so cheap. It was too cheap. And so I buy more on a fundamental value than I do on like the charts. And so I'm not scared to buy charts that look like this. Now, sometimes when you're buying charts that look like this, you buy and then it continues to go cheaper. And that's happened a lot on OMI. I liked OMI at this price. I liked OMI at this price a lot. And guess what? We got a huge gift that it went even cheaper. See, there was a strong resistance here and it wasn't breaking below that until all the coins got started getting released from Bitforex. And then people were getting those coins back and they were panic selling them into other things. And it brought it down to this really, really juicy, cheap price, like incredibly juicy price. So for me, OMI is still like a buy. It's an incredible price point, kind of like when Cardano was 3 cents. I thought the price was so amazing, like below 5 cents was amazing. And so the fact that it got even cheaper to 3 cents, I was super happy. Happened to get a really big bonus from work, able to put a whole bunch of money into it at 3 cents. I was really pleased with that. And I didn't have, I had some capital set aside in case it went cheaper, but I tried playing around with leverage longs on Bitcoin. And I put 1.7 Bitcoin into a leverage long. And we had a day where crypto just got absolutely wicked to the downside. And I lost that 1.7 Bitcoin. So instead of putting the additional 10K into Cardano that I'd set aside if it went under 2 cents, I put it back in the Bitcoin I lost. And I decided leverage wasn't for me, because was I right that Bitcoin was going to go a lot higher from there? Oh, yes, I was right. But I was wrong for a day before I was right, and it wicked the position out. And I learned I like, altcoins do enough gains. Crypto does enough gains. I don't need to play with leverage, because if you're actually holding it, you can't be wicked out. So that way, if you are right, you don't have to worry about if you're wrong for a little bit before you are right. So good learning lesson for me. Costly, because had I put that in at Cardano at under 2 cents, that $10,000 would have went to $1 million right there alone. Oh, well. Yeah, $1 million learning lesson. That was a great learning lesson. So right here, OMI's gotten even cheaper. And this is where most people can't buy. Just like they couldn't buy Cardano at this price, they were way too scared. They were running scared. All the major influencers were talking negative on Cardano and that Cardano's dead. And Alex Becker was just absolutely shitting on Cardano on a weekly basis. Cool. Guess what? It went from 24 cents up to almost $1 now, and it's a large cap coin. So from 24 cents to $1, 4x is a big deal. Like Bitcoin at the bottom, went down to about 15,000. So Bitcoin's done over a 4x from its absolute bottom, but Bitcoin's been running for quite a while. I think Cardano goes to probably $10, maybe more. And from the bottom at 21 cents, that is almost a 50x. So I'm not scared to buy things, especially like OMI at this price. This is a juicy price. In fact, I've sold some of my positions that have gone up, and I've rolled them into OMI that I still think is massively undervalued. That's a decision I'm making for myself. That is not telling you what to do. You are big boys and girls, get to make your own decisions. For me at this price, OMI is an incredible buy. And I have been massively loading the boats. We had a question on OMI. Let's see. Let me find it real quick. Almost there. Regarding OMI, in the bull case, what will be your price prediction during current cycle? Thanks. I think it hits over 5 cents. I'll be shocked if OMI doesn't go to over 5 cents. And literally from this price, that's 150x from here. Will it play out that way? I don't have that magic crystal ball to know. That's just where I think the fundamental value. Often the pendulum swings too far each way. The pendulum, in my opinion, swung way too far to the downside, which I think is amazing. When things do turn around, and you've seen with Cardano how sentiment can completely change around, OMI's sentiment will completely change around at a certain point, and it will probably at a certain point swing too far to the upside. I think that too far to the upside is 5 cents or greater. All right. Let's go to PNUT, which was a meme coin that particularly got a lot of traction in the lead up to the election as Peanut the squirrel was put to death by the New York government authorities for having a wild animal in their house, even though it was trained and tamed.
Yeah, very sad story. Yeah, I didn't realize that until excuse me, I looked at it and thought, well, hang on a minute, this isn't got a lot of data, and then I put two and two together and realized it was that poor squirrel. So look, I can't really give an opinion on this because it's like one of those things. There's not enough data. It has exploded. I think, given the sort of market environment that we're in, this is the sort of thing that that advertising is a huge thing in the market. So it's absolutely massive. So anything. This is why, for example, films franchises just go on forever because they've already spent the money advising you or getting it into your psyche and letting you know what the product's like, and millions and millions of dollars is spent doing that, and then they can sell the next thing along. And so all I'm saying is, with meme coins, it's a very interesting area that when everybody knows about something, um, to create something like this, smart idea. Will it be a long-term thing? I don't know. I'm not sure. Definitely came at the right time when all the sentiment and all the kind of emotion relating to the subject has been, at its peak, but it will die off. It will go down, and whether it maintains this trend is another matter. So because there's not enough data, I wouldn't really say very much more than this is a great indication that we're in a bull market because of how strongly it's gone higher. It's gone a massive amount. I mean, it's gone from like 4 cents up to, what is that? It's gone over $2, $2.50. Crazy move. So someone's made a hell of a lot of money. Will they want to just sit on it, or will they want to take that profit? I think it's more likely the latter, but we'll have to just come back to it to see how it's trading, because really isn't enough data at the moment. It still looks like it could go up, but because of it's really too volatile, even in this space, for me to give a view. And that's, again, because there's just not enough data.
Yeah, I don't play the meme coins. I know a few people that if they follow sentiment analysis and they play the meme coins. This was an interesting one, but it coincided also with the meme coin run, and Peanut the squirrel was put to death. You can see it looks like Peanut was launched just after that. So somebody threw together a meme coin and got a bunch of people to jump on the bandwagon, and it really started pumping here and went absolutely crazy. But this is what it feels like when you're left holding the chair. And I don't know that Peanut's going to continue. Maybe as new people come into crypto, a lot of the substance just overwhelms them. So projects with a lot of substance, sometimes they just can't understand it, and they would rather just throw it into something they can understand, which is a squirrel. And so I don't know. I don't play these ones because what is the predictability from here? Hard to tell the predictability. Why? There are a lot of meme coins they could throw their money into, a lot competing for the space. There's no substance behind it. So, for me, this would be a sell, though I wouldn't have bought this. I do know some people that play the sentiment and they make some money on this. One of the reasons I don't play memes is the only people that I know have made meaningful money from memes have large YouTube channels, and they're able to then talk about what they buy and shill it to their audience, like tell them, oh, this is the greatest thing. And then they sell it after it goes crazy because they helped create the pump itself. And I just like things of substance, that whether I'm covering it or not, there's substantive value behind it that I think it'll pump all on its own. And, my channel, because I talk so much about substance, it's like making kids eat their vegetables all the time. My channel is never going to be not likely to be one of the biggest, because a lot of times people don't want substance. They just want sugar. And meme coins is like the sugar. And I just don't focus on this. I don't cover it because it doesn't help make you, the goal of this channel is to help the audience become savage crypto investors, like Navy SEALs within the crypto investing space, so that you become so hardened and good at this that you can see scams coming from a mile away. You don't fall for them. You are buying substantive projects so that you absolutely use this moment in time where crypto is the adoptive technology of the decade to radically transform your wealth. And meme coins are kind of like going to the gambling table when you could be investing at better odds. Cool. Let's go to Render.
Yeah, Render's been one that I've favored over the long term, and interestingly, it has held up really well. It's been in a really nice upward trend, and for those of you who are kind of new or just tuning in again after a little while, we talked about this August 5th sell-off and why it was important because of the way the market spiked down and then recovered. It took a little while for it to move up again, but it is moving up again from that point. So this low point here, that was a sentiment low. For me, that's really important. And because it hadn't gone any lower than that, it makes the upside a greater probability, especially given the macro situation. Um, Technically, this is a really nice pattern and it's compressed. You've got 2 points of resistance, you've got rising lows. So on a breakout through $8.2, I think this should have a nice squeeze higher. The only possible small thing against it is the AI story. It ran early, so one could argue that it's already in the price and it's for the other markets to play catch up. But I still think that it's an important story, and I still think it's got more to run. And even if it hasn't in its own bubble, if you see what I mean, in the AI bubble, it's still within a space that should generally be doing well. The whole crypto space should be doing well. So I see no reason why this shouldn't enjoy the same sort of rally. So for me, and I always talk for me, and this isn't saying anyone should do anything. It's always from my own perspective. It's a buy, and I would be looking for a move towards these highs, 10, 14. I would expect that to be broken at some point next year. But in the short term, it does look like it's going to squeeze as well.
Yes, Render is interesting. I want to give us some historical perspective on this. Render went up massively during the 2021 bull run. The later part of the run, you see it went up a little bit in the March part of the run. And then really when the metaverse really took off, because Render is using decentralization to allow people to put their computer resources to work in return for tokens, or that's the idea behind it. As Nvidia went absolutely crazy in the stock market, Render went absolutely crazy here, going to $13. And as you see, like what goes up sometimes comes down, even in a greater bull run, and it pulls back for a much juicier buy point. Can we agree that, even $5 is a lot juicier buy point than $13? So this is why I don't chase these massive green candles like XLM has been doing. And maybe XLM will do something like this. Notice how Render at first ran up a little bit, then it stepped back just a little bit. So it had been down at $1.40. It ran up to $5. Then it came back down to $3.60 before it ran up some more. So even if XLM is going to take a bigger leg up like this is, usually there's this little cool off period where you get a chance to get in again. Now, there's a strong chance, I think, especially with Trump being elected, that XLM, XRP, some of these ISO coins really realize their future. And they become the financial backbone of not just the US, not just Japan and Europe and many other countries that are working towards that, but much of the world. And if so, some of these coins like XLM and XRP are going to be probably a lot more expensive than they are now. So you can try to time things for this cycle, because most likely we'll have a massive bull run and things will totally swing too far to the upside. And then that will be followed by a bear market where things will pull back too much. That's mostly what I'm doing, is I'm buying things specific to this cycle that I think will pull back, and then buy some more. And then during that, I'm going to exit to stable coins, probably buy some outside of crypto assets, but then I'm going to leave half my capital to rebuy back in during the bear market on things that get cheap. And I hope some of these coins, like some of these blue chips even, which I'll probably be buying some blue chips at that point, will come back and get cheap. But I do think Render has a much bigger run ahead of it during this bull market. Though the market cap's at 3.82 billion, something like this can go to market cap in the 30 to possibly even $100 billion market cap. So it's got some good potential from here. 10x to 30x possible ahead of it. Now, how will it actually play out? We'll have to see. But I think Render is one of those projects where it's got enough sexiness to it, enough appeal, and a strong enough narrative that can go a lot higher during a bull market where the pendulum swings too far to the upside. And I think that'll happen with Render. So it's a buy. I'm not buying it though, because I'm in riskier things like OMI. I'm in riskier projects, and I cover those if you watch my videos, not in the live section, but in the video section, my top 5 picks. That's what I'm buying at these prices. And yeah, there's also a video, I think there's a link to it below, on my top 2 undervalued projects that everyone's missing on. Great video. It's a course. You have to buy it to get those 2 picks, but they're really cheap right now. They have not run yet, but there's so much substance behind them. I think they run tremendously later. All right, so Render, am I buying it? No. Would I buy it if I was buying blue chips and I was hoping for like a 10x or greater? Yes, absolutely. All right, let's get to, we got a ton of comments. I'm getting short on time. I don't know that we'll get to all the comments, so I want to prioritize the earliest ones first. We haven't looked at XDC yet, correct?
No, not yet.
All right, let's take a look at that.
Okay, so I mean, this is, to me, very nice looking chart. What we've got here is very similar to the XLM chart. We've got a change in market dynamics, although you can see from the way that this is traded that it moves very low vol in a kind of strange way. It's difficult to explain, but hopefully you can see what I mean. It's perhaps there's low volume trades going through, or something about it that means it's a second choice. I'm not sure, but this is interesting in the way that when it picks a direction, it just keeps going in a almost robotic way. But I only point that out to show that this is a change in dynamics. So from this point here, from the 16th of November, the dynamics have changed. It spiked up and had a pullback, and now we've had another move. And it's, interestingly, these moves are sticking near the high. So this would indicate to me that the market wants to go even higher. And that would make sense given what we've said about broadly the altcoin space. And then if we take a step back and go into a weekly chart, you can see that this is forming a triangular constriction, which from a long-term perspective is very bullish. So when this breaks out, we're looking at $1 and possibly more. So I think we're at a very interesting stage here. And it may take a pullback or 2 before it finally breaks out. But I like the look of it. And for me, it would be a buy.
All right. Yeah, I was just catching up on some research for XDC. So this chart, we've got an early breakout here. I think it'll settle back down before it continues this run. I think, look, we've got a higher low, higher than this. So 22 was probably the low, and that didn't quite come down to those levels, almost. That's exactly what a reversal pattern looks like. I like to think of this as a W, and it's still really early on that W. And if it fully plays out, it'll come back up to 18 cents, come back down a little bit, and then break to the upside. So this still has a lot of potential ahead of it. A lot. And it's early. I just think it's going to come back and get cheaper than 5.5 cents. Now it's real close to the blue chip category. It's not a low enough market cap that I'm actually buying this because I'm just not holding blue chips. This is a good one though. This is one to watch. I think it's going to it'll come back, get a little bit cheaper is my guess. And if not, I just don't chase boats that I haven't missed or that I've already missed. So, it's not as juicy as it was. It was recently trading at 2.5 cents. Now it's at 5.5 cents. I mean, not terrible. It's only doubled from there, but this is a good one. When I see stuff like this comment, Lift Off Crypto says, with all the research and news articles that I've read over the years about XTC, there's no way I'm missing this chance for life-changing wealth. We see what's coming and there's no room for a shakeout. When I hear people say there's no room for a shakeout, no matter what, that's my conviction. We were too close. Gosh, that tells me probably there's going to be a shakeout. And it might pull back and get a little bit cheaper before it continues the run. I do think it is going to continue to run, and it's going to probably break above this. It'll probably get some resistance around this 9 cent mark, and then I'll push forward in probably the coming month above that. Now, about the Rainmaker Discord, some of the thoughts, like we covered a lot of things, and it goes back to what I realized 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I realized I was just one person. And I missed out on a lot of opportunities because I could only see what I knew about. And I had this idea that what if we created like a group of people and we attracted people that thought the same way, so that I missed less because there were other people had their points of views and could share it in an informed way, so that not only myself, but the group could benefit. And that was the idea behind the Discord. And it's played out that way, because you've got people like Sale, who has done so much research on these ISO coins and been able to share that with the whole group. So even though my focus wasn't on it, everyone in the group was still able to benefit. Pete has been all over it with Cardano, what's going on there, and it creates a hub of information where you get more than just my point of view. I like to think I'm really good at this. I was able to retire because of crypto investment during the bear market of 2018 through 2020. And I've redeployed all that capital during this bear market, taking another bet on myself. But there's other people that have very good, well-researched points too. Why not create a place where the group can really benefit from that? And that was the idea. And that's part of the idea of having Paul on this channel, is like Paul sees like the broader market better than anyone I know in the crypto space, and being able to share that stuff with you. I think that's why you all love our videos with Paul every week, and you all look forward to it, because it does broaden your understanding of what's happening in the markets. So thank you, Paul, for joining us and making that happen.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Just wishing anyone who's in America a happy Thanksgiving holiday, and look forward to seeing you in the future.
Yeah. All right, so that's XDC, VAIOT, and Demetra. I looked a little bit into these. Well, we will share them. Let me pull up. So they like VAIOT. I found.
Oh, okay. So sorry, I thought we were ending there. Sorry, the way you were sort of going.
Oh yeah, talking about it. Almost. I do got to run in just like 5 minutes, but I was trying to get through some more of the comments.
Sure. Okay. So VAIO, you saying?
Yeah. With a T at the end. Let me show you. Spelled like this: VAIOT.
VAIOT. Okay. Migrated from their old contract. Max. Okay. Look, this is interesting in the sense that what dates? Yeah, okay. We've got some days. Clearly, there's something going on.
History on it on CoinMarketCap. Or no, I guess the same amount of history. It just looks really compressed there.
Yeah. It's just because it's on a log scale.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, look, is that up to date? Yeah, I guess it's. I'm not entirely sure that we've got completely the up-to-date price, but given time constraints and just looking at it off the cuff here, it looks like we've got some form of base forming, because these, if you see these red candles and the way it's just gone sideways, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's not enough to say that the trend has changed, but that's on a higher shelf compared to this point and this low point here. So we have got rising lows, which would suggest that this is getting ready for a move higher. So like risk reward, I would buy it here with a stop, but I wouldn't let it go any lower than the low print. What is that? Around 6 cents. So we'll say, below 5 cents, out. That to me is how I look at the risk reward based on the price. What else is there to say? Not really very much. That it's the bear market started up here, and this, although it's rising, it's slightly unusual looking price action. So I might have to do a bit more, consider it a bit further. But if I'm just taking it from here, it is, as I say, at a higher level, which is positive. And again, pointing to the macro position, that's all bullish. So why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it enjoy the same sort of moves that we've seen in some of the other markets? We're in a bullish environment, so it should go higher. So if it doesn't move in the next couple of weeks, or certainly a month, then that would be a big red flag for me. But overall, it looks like it's got upward potential.
Yeah, this one's an interesting narrative. So this was a buy for you.
Yeah.
Let's see. Interesting narrative on this. Now, I can't say I love that I wasn't able to get really great information on CoinMarketCap about them. There's no description. CoinMarketCap allows you, and they're kind of a pain to work with, but there's nothing substantive about VAIOT on this at all. I had to go to their website or their Twitter account, and so I went to Twitter, and it tells us there what's about legal tech and D-Law, which is probably decentralized law solutions, to democratize legal services by leveraging AI and blockchain technology. So they've thrown lots of buzzwords in there. Can't say I love that, but it seems like there's some substance. First of all, they've been around for a while. They joined April 2018. So they went through their second bear market, not just their first, this last one, and they're pushing forward. Let's go back to their price. Okay, so on logarithmic scale, we get a better idea. They launched, well, their token was tradable here in 2021. They were probably working for quite a while before that, and then launched their token. And so during the bear market, it went as cheap as 0.5 cents, is trading at 11 cents. The market cap's 38 million. So that's potentially a market cap I like. The question is, do I like their project enough? So if you think about, it looks like they're like essentially LegalZoom, or what is there's some websites where you can go online and get legal contracts written up for you, and then like by lawyers, and they're kind of templates you can then use and fill in certain things, or sometimes make some adjustments. And there's some value in that, but blockchain really doesn't need to be there for like LegalZoom, or I forget the name of the products that have some bigger traction that way. Will this probably still do well in the bull market? Yes. Is there a place for blockchain and contracts? Yes. Having contracts recorded on the blockchain is a big deal. Also, a way of setting up arbiters, going to arbiters for things rather than courtrooms, because like in the crypto space, it's really hard to sue somebody because their jurisdiction might be in some place. Like you see here, the jurisdiction for them is in Malta. And if they broke a contract with you, then you got to go file a lawsuit potentially in Malta in order to sue them. And then you got to find a lawyer in Malta. So worldwide business can be difficult. There's a place for blockchain, as well as like third-party arbiters being able to determine the outcome of things rather than having to go to a lawsuit. So I think that's a narrative that in the future there's some value that can be created there. Am I going to invest in this project? It would go as a question mark. It's potentially, I think their narrative is strong enough that they could get some growth. I think their chart is bullish enough that I do think it's building up. We got a higher low here. We had this peak at like 39 cents here, or 45 cents. So that's about 4x from here. I do think it's building up, and it's going to have a run, this bull run. And it might not go to previous highs of $2. Maybe it breaks through and goes above it. It's got plenty of room for the market cap to go a lot higher. But this looks like a 20 to 40x potential for me. So I'm not buying it versus the ones I like even more, but I think this is going to make some money in the coming year. So for me, it's just a wait, because I'd be deploying the capital and other things, but the chart looks bullish. And the narrative is one that I think can run in this bull run. So there's nothing I really don't like about it, other than I'm putting in things that I think have higher upside. So yeah, interesting suggestion. Really, that's all the time we have for everyone. I appreciate you all joining in. Paul didn't get to your question. Oh, I guess we did somewhat address it. My good friend Paul Lizzie, good to have you here. Paul's got his own channel, does some great videos on what is it? I'm forgetting the name. Not Facebook, but the other site for that, Instagram. Amazing content on Instagram. Real quick question. I'll address this. Ethan asked, Rain, how's your bumper holdings performing now? Are you in the green again, back in profit territory? No. Bumper's price is about real close to an all-time low. I am not in profit at all. And I wish I'd known it would get this cheap. I didn't think it would get this cheap, but it did. And I put in a whole bunch right here at right close to 5 cents. I deployed another $50,000 into it. So it's down. Do I think Bumper's going to do well? I think it's going to do tremendous. So am I worried about the long term? Well, it was always a risk to invest in altcoins. Do I wish I'd known it was going to get this cheap? Yeah, I would have just waited and deployed that additional capital when it got this cheap. I didn't know. I don't have a magic crystal ball. Do I think I'll probably make some good money on it? As long as they survive until the full altcoin run hits, I don't know why it won't go massively above even what I bought at. I really like the Bumper team. I like what they're doing. I think there's some good substance there. Do I wish I had a magic crystal ball and I could have seen the future and known to wait till it was at 1.2 cents? I wish. That's just not a realistic expectation. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Love you guys. Yeah. Paul, appreciate so much your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, guys, and look forward to speaking to you next week.
All right. For those in the U.S., have a happy Thanksgiving week. And yeah, I'll leave you with this wrap. We'll see you all soon. So do tune in for Randy and Dr. Stuff and I. Should be going live tomorrow covering OMI is my homie.
To the space, chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, you bought before you could. Was told to buy when it was pouring like a rainmaker should. Buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I miss. Cause I always make the time in mind. I take the one out cause I'm patient like that. And I'll wait for the right time. I'll sell when it's high, I'll buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't leave with my heart. The principles are simple, to leave in a mark. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. Sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling the parabolic and dump it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Time is never better, the time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, to study and to know that nothing comes easy but with knowledge the game show. Sticking out this wrong cause soon will come a bear market. Learning and growing and when it's slow will be the target. Naysayers come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your better. I'm strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time, the ball will bring back the games. That makes it worth the effort, cause here comes the rain. So let's go rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go with the hate, let the haters be crafting. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Amazing time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I'll follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, the time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough. And that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.